I'm Kate Ward, and this is your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip. And I'm here in the sunshine. And that sunshine is actually a little bit about what we're talking about, which is light requirements for indoor plants. And today we're talking about bright light, whether it be direct or indirect. And we chose the southwest window here of the garden center for the bright and direct or indirect talk, because that bright direct light, where we get a bunch of hours of sunlight, we're going to talk about the plants that want to live there. So that's a south or west, as I mentioned. Now the north or the east also can get bright light, but it's not bright enough for the plants we're going to talk about. So you want to make sure, as you look through your house and you're deciding where things might live, what direction does my window face? What's my light source for these plants? Because I can water till I'm blue in the face or fertilize, but if we don't have the fundamental amount of light that our plants need, they're not going to do really well. So make sure you kind of figure that out and look outside and see, is there an awning? So it faces south, but it's the front porch and I have a big overhang. Or there's a tree that shades it most of the day. That's going to change a little bit of our light quality. Or heck, it's the kitchen and the lights are on all the time and it faces south and woo, you lucky duck you. So those kinds of things pay attention to, okay? So now we're talking about that direct sun. So you can see here in the background, we have this film. It's a shade cloth actually over this south window, because there are actually only a few plants that really like direct south or western exposure in the window. And those plants include things like crotons, and I have a couple different types here. I have this one called Petra with this big leaf, and then I have this one called Mammy with this kind of neat wide and twisting leaf. And as they mature, each of the different varieties of crotons will actually get different color qualities. So this one, as it gets older, tends to always have this sort of yellow in it, but it tends to have a bit of red as it gets older. Meanwhile, Petra almost always has a little bit of red at the base, but you see much more of this yellow with a little bit of orange in it. So they all have their own characteristics. I'm sure there's one out there for everybody. Moving on, we also have jade plants. Jades are wonderful, long lived. They can get quite large. You can pinch and keep them smaller, but you can also train them as trees. And you can see here where this is starting to get woody, and it'll look like a miniature tree. They're frequently used for bonsai. So again, this would take a direct south or west window exposure and just love it there. There's other things that include string of pearls, succulents, I'm sure you've heard of those, cactuses. This is the type of succulent called kalanchoe or kalanchoe, tomato, you choose how you like to say it and go with it. But they have a nice flower, big flowers there, a lot of color for you for in the house. Now those are some that want or will take unfiltered light. So let's talk about bright indirect. So we're choosing those same window exposures, or maybe a bank of windows if you're so lucky to have one, but it might be out of the window, so I'm not quite in the window, or it might have a sheer curtain, or it might be an unfiltered light but I'm off to the side. Now these are bright indirect, so the plant's not getting hit, or if it is, it's just for a little while. Well, now we expand our range of what you can choose to have there, from anything to things like this ficus, to Norfolk Island pine, to any of the ones I mentioned before, they'll still do fine there, to actually a myriad of others. I have orchid cactus that would like that just fine. I have Sansevieria, or mother-in-law's tongue, and these are cool because they'll actually grow in really low light, but we'll talk about that exposure a different day. Scheffleras, philodendrons, monstras, corn plants, dracaenas, wonderful lighting for all of those. So you have a lot of selection there in that. Just keep in mind a couple of more things. In the window or near the window, most houseplants don't love drafts. So as we move through the winter months here in the Northeast, make sure that that window is sealed, or maybe it'll have to come off the window a little bit so we don't get, nobody likes to have cold. Nobody likes to be cold. Neither do our houseplants. So pay attention to that so that they're happy and healthy for you. Come in if you have any questions. We can't wait to see you. This has been your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip.